Right, so I've been doing a bit of scrolling on social media and I came across this from Sports Bible. And I've got to say, I'm really disappointed in Sports Bible. I mean, they have a large male following that doesn't like women's football, doesn't even watch women's football, and yet they're posting something like this, where where a female player has has commented on the pay disparities between men and women. Like we know why men and women get paid differently at the highest level of the game, and it's because we watch the men's game a lot more than the women's game. Now, there's nothing wrong with the women's game, but we just prefer watching the men's game. For me, I don't mind, but for the larger audience, I mean, you'd rather watch Barcelona versus Real Madrid in the men's game than the same fixture in the women's game, wouldn't you? It's not rocket science. But the point is that Sports Bible are posting this to a following that doesn't like women's football. It's something I just don't get. Like the way I see it, like Sports Bible are not driving positivity to the women's game, but rather negativity. And they could see that women's football is on the rise, but they're talking about women's football like they don't want to see it grow, but they'd rather see it on the ground forever, and that's just not going to happen. Women's football is here to stay and will continue to grow. So, so for me, Sport Bible here, they're being a bit childish, really. Like, why wouldn't you want to see women's football grow? Like, women's football's great right now, but I mean, Sport Bible, they're not the only ones. I mean, I've seen other outlets talk about women's football in a negative light. I mean, the only time they talk about women's football is when something bad has happened, or whether they talk about sexism, or the matter in hand, equal pay. Like that's the only time they'll actually talk about women's football, not a team winning something or another team doing well. Like, and Sport Bible aren't the only ones. Like I just said, like if you're going to talk about women's football, talk about it in a positive light. Like, don't don't be saying something like, or don't show what a woman has said in regards to sexism or equal pay to a fan base that doesn't like women's football, because it doesn't make any sense. There are loads of things to talk about in women's football in positive light. I mean, for instance, England have qualified for their sixth semi-final in a row, which dates back to 2015. Or you could talk about Arsenal winning their second European Cup, having won their first back in 2007. But for some reason, all you'd want to show is a woman talking about equal pay, which makes no sense whatsoever and just puts women's football in a negative light. I don't understand that. Like I said earlier, it's like Sport Bible. They don't want women's football to grow. Like, women's football isn't going away. Women's football is here to stay, and I'd like to see it continue to grow, because for me, that's the only way women's football is going, and that way is up. But and Sport Bible, they're not the only outlet to talk about women's football in a negative light. Like, there are other outlets who do exactly the same. Like, they'll talk about Alicia Lehman saying something about the fact that she doesn't get paid as much as a male footballer. Like, you've just got to think to yourself, like, if you're not going to put women's football in positive light, then just don't bother at all. Because for me, I can honestly see women's football continuing to grow. it's like some outlets, they don't want women's football to grow at all. What what they'd rather show is not women's football, but rather a woman complaining about equal pay. But yeah, that's just my cents on this. But I'd like to know what you think. Like, should outlets who only put women's football in negative light really bother talk about women's football at all, or should they learn how to talk about women's football in a positive light? Yeah, I'd like to know what you think, because I think Sport Bible, they used to be good back in the day, but ever since they started talking about women's football, all they seem to do is just put women's football in negative light. Like, I've seen a few positive posts from Sport Bible about women's football, but it's like the negative ones get a lot more traction, and that. But hey, that's what I've seen. But again, I'd like to know what you think. Like, should Sport Bible really be posting about women's football when I have a large fan base that doesn't care about women's football at all? Like, I'd like to know what you think.